so I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks about it.
I'm going to eat your soul, shit it out, and use it to smother your fucking girlfriend to death. I am death.
How's it going, G Freaks and Sci-Fi Fanatics? This is Daniel, the Sci-Fi Sentry, always keeping it raw and real. And I'm back with part 2 for my opinion and discussion for Castlevania Season 4, the final season for the series, and they definitely went out without a bang. And just recapping some of the stuff that I talked about in video part 1 for Castlevania Season 4. I just got into a little bit of what happened between the episodes, and I finished off at around, I think it was season 5 and 6. So I'm just going to start off from there, and just getting back to the fact that, and I'm going to just elaborate and bring up some stuff that I didn't mention in the first video. And Varney, and I mentioned Samphire, Ratko, whatever the fuck his name is, that crazy vampire, and a few other parts of gore that was shown in the series. And like I said in the first video, the gore factor just went off the charts in this season, and I really enjoyed that. And talking about Varney, he's just a very old, probably like 1,000-year-old vampire that's just think he's high and mighty, thinks he's this, knows everything. He's really just pretty much, to me, a nobody. And Ratko is kind of like, you don't get much of a backstory on him. And Zamfir is just part of the royal court, and she's pretty handy with blades, stuff like that. And the gore factor was really good in this season. I mean, freaking off the charts. And now continuing where I left off. Now, after Carmilla was pretty much a coward and killed herself, couldn't take the fact that she was gonna lose to a human being with advanced night creatures. So once she kills herself, huge old explosion in the castle where her quarters were, and there's a big old shockwave, and then you see Striga and Marana coming from, I guess, where they were ever at, and part of Styria, and they see what happens. They're on their horses. Striga's like, you know what happened, you felt that too. And Marana, I don't even know why she's crying. I mean, it was just hilarious for me. And they find out that Carmilla is dead, and they're already thinking Lenore is dead. And I can't really say that they kind of pussied out, because they kind of did. But if they really were loyal to Carmilla, they would have tried to take back the castle with what soldiers they had. But it would have been a lost cause, in my opinion. And Striga and Marana start thinking about, well, you know what, we have to think about ourselves. And Striga, supposedly being a badass, probably as a warrior and having honor, which she does claim in season 3, she thinks twice about it, takes Marana's advice, and says, you know what, we should just focus on ourselves. And Carmilla's gone. We have no more of an attachment to what her goals were, so they go off on their own. And they, in my opinion, just cowardly, in my opinion, they just take off and they go their own way, which was kind of, it also makes sense. They would have been overwhelmed anyway by the amount of night creatures that Isaac had created, pretty much a freaking army. And Hector getting control of his night creatures, or what night creatures he was able to create. And yeah, I'll leave it at that when it comes to Striga and Marana. So now Carmilla's gone. Striga and Marana go their own way. Isaac meets up again with Hector. Hector's wrapping up his hand because he chopped off his own finger. And Lenore went back into, I guess, their lower cells, like I guess in the catacombs of the castle, and she's kind of distraught, I guess, for what happened to Carmilla. And Isaac and Hector start talking and start really analyzing and putting everything together on what their real goal was when they were part of Dracula's court as their generals and as his generals. So they were just really talking about what's next, and through Isaac's journey, everything that he learned, actually having conversations with other humans, being shown kindness, being given gifts, especially that, what's it called, I think it was the communication mirror by one of the merchants from that city that he landed on first, that where Dracula had put him through a transportation mirror. And Isaac was just putting everything together, and unfortunately for Hector, everything that he had gone through, it also did make him stronger mentally, going through what happened with being manipulated by Carmilla, feeling guilty for him being a part of the fact that Dracula died because Hector was manipulated by Carmilla, and which led to Dracula's downfall. And Hector wanted to bring Dracula back and wanted to mend his mistakes, but as far as what Isaac went through in his journey, learning about kindness and that he has more of a purpose being human than just being somebody else's pawn or being somebody else's small part in somebody else's story, especially Dracula's story. So that's where they start to really mend their friendship, and Isaac is more, to me, just he's more calm, he's thinking a lot more, and he really wants to just live his life. And he even gives Hector the choice of, Hector, what do you want to do? Join me or whatever you want to do. And Hector says, I just want to be left alone. I want to continue my work. And he wants to stay with Lenore. And that's kind of what, really threw me off. But it's understandable. I mean, he did find a connection with Lenore because Lenore was probably the only vampire that really showed him that he was worth something. So yeah, that's where I'll leave it as far as Isaac and Hector goes, because that's already what their conclusion was. And now we go back to Sypha and Trevor, and they're back in Tergovista, and they really get on Zamfir for, you know what, now you better take us to this underground royal court, or you know what, we're not going to help you. Or they gave her an ultimatum and everything, and Zamfir, being a pain in the ass, stubborn warrior, royal guard herself, says, okay, you know what, I'll agree to it. So Zamfir takes Sypha and Trevor to the underground court, and crazy, underground court has a small tiny little ditch or canal with nothing but holy water, which what I think was kind of a deterrent and threw off the vampires that had a nest in Tergovista, and they couldn't find it. They couldn't locate the royal court to take it out or to take over it. And there's all kinds of treasures and weapons and people, I guess, that were, I guess they were highborn, not royal, but I guess they were of noble blood, and they were just spending their last days. They looked like shit. It's like they didn't even care they were there. They were probably going crazy. And before Zamfir really introduces Sypha and Trevor to the royal family, or whatever they were, Trevor finds the iconic bladed crucifix boomerang from the games, even from Castlevania 1 that came out in the late 80s. This is an iconic weapon, and I didn't think they were gonna do it. Actually, I didn't think about it, but once I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah. And then Trevor's talking to Sypha, saying, just telling her, giving her information on this weapon, and this weapon is the only of its kind. It's the only weapon of its kind, and it was. I mean, I was like, shit, man. I was like, thank you, thank you. They actually put it in the series, and it took 4 seasons, but they put it in the series, and that weapon is iconic. And anybody who's watching this, and some of my homies that do play video games and do have somewhat of a background information on Castlevania, the bladed crucifix boomerang is a weapon of choice for a lot of people, me included. And I was so glad they put it in there. And then Trevor, being Trevor, he tells Zamfir, okay, let's meet these people from the royal family. He walks in and he's like, wakey wakey, you stubborn assholes, or something like that. And it was funny as hell, man. He just says, wakey wakey, you. It was funny, man. It was just funny. I don't remember. And I watched it yesterday just to be able to do this second opinion and discussion video. And it was funny, man. And to find out, they're dead. The king or queen or empress or emperor, they're from Tergovista, they're dead. They've been long dead. They're like rotting in their royal garbs and everything like that. And then it was funny, man. And Trevor, just the way he is like, oh, no wonder they're not worried about anything. No wonder they're so quiet about the situation going on in Tergovista. And Sypha walks in and starts letting Zamfir have it, and they just find out that Zamfir is pretty much gone insane when Dracula came to Tergovista, gave the people of Wallachia the ultimatum that you better make peace with your god, leave Wallachia, or you're gonna die. And this was in the beginning of season 1. And Dracula just lays waste to Tergovista, and Zamfir she's lost it. Screws are not where they're supposed to be, and the cogs are turning backwards. So yeah, I was just, man, it was crazy. And then when all that is going on, they're bickering. Ratko and his night creatures, they have located the underground catacombs where the royal family and Zamfir were taking refuge, and they start laying waste to the place. They start killing the survivors that are there. Ratko is, he just pretty much seemed like just a lackey of Varney, and actually Ratko was like, he was hiding it the whole time. He was hiding who he really was, and he was an ex-soldier and a real sadistic vampire fighter. And he kind of gives Trevor a run for his money, and Trevor's struggling. And remember, these Sypha and Trevor have been fighting so much that they don't have time to get the rest that they need to be able to function properly as far as battling night creatures, demons, vampires. So yeah, it's crazy, and they go at it, man. And when all of this is going on, Alucard is helping Greta and the village and settlement of Denesti start to settle in front of Dracula's castle, where Alucard has occupied the castle now. And he's just talking with Greta, and they're just trying to figure out what to do, working on defenses. Alucard is starting to regain and find his humanity again. He starts, interacting with children, and Alucard is genuinely a good person, even though he's a Dhampir. He's half vampire, but his mother, I'm pretty sure, taught him all the values of human life. And yeah, he's starting to find his humanity again, and he's trying to help him as much as he can. And they start talking about defenses, and then when night falls, I think it was Dragan had made a deal with Saint Germain that, they gotta do something about bringing back Dracula. So Dragan leads an army of, not an army, but it's a pretty big, sizable militia, or I guess you could say a platoon of vampires, night creatures, golems, beasts from the video games. I forgot the name of the freaking beast, but it's one of a few beasts from the video games. I think it might be, I don't know, I just really have to think about it. I think it might be from Symphony of the Night. But they just come in, and these other necromancers, spirits, or just evil wizards are starting to stitch together a figure, a human figure made out of what is human flesh, male body parts, female body parts, and I'll get to that before the end. And yeah, they're battling. They're pretty much the dynasty villagers and refugees are putting up a fight, and then Alucard comes out of nowhere and starts, wrecking everything, starts fucking everything up, trying to change the tide of battle, and they're starting to get more overwhelmed. And Alucard is trying his best, and one of the beasts that one of the necromancers takes off the chain starts really fucking everything up. Has like a laser type of fire attack that starts incinerating a lot of the villagers and the refugees, and they finally go in. Greta and I think it was Alucard and a few other of the villagers start going inside the castle, and they start doing what they can to just keep them at bay. And then while Trevor and Sypha are fighting in the underground court in the catacombs, out of nowhere, Trevor's getting pretty much beaten by Ratko, and Ratko's about to he's about to just give the final blow to Trevor while the night creatures are holding Trevor down. And out of nowhere, two of the refugees, a woman and her daughter, try to shove Ratko or try to stop him from killing Trevor. And he's looking at him like, did you just fucking touch me? Did you just fucking touch me? And it was crazy too. I was like, wow. I was like, really? I guess they must have heard Samphire and Sypha and Trevor talking about what really has to be done about the people being in the catacombs. They're dying. They're freaking just lying in their own fecal matter and stuff like that. So I guess they heard it, and they tried to stop Ratko from killing Trevor. And then it's a momentary distraction, and then Zamfir sees that, and then right before Ratko's gonna kill those two refugees, Zamfir sacrifices herself, gets stabbed by Ratko, and they start talking, and Ratko saying that, I think it was Zamfir saying that they will outlast, like her people will outlast the vampires and night creatures and the apocalypse and everything. And Ratko says, I'm fucking immortal. And Trevor comes from behind, grabs the bladed crucifix boomerang that's also, like, you can also turn it into a regular blade, throws Ratko to the floor, stabs him in the heart, kills him off. And then while all this is going on, Varney is looking for something, and then he goes to where the royal families, rotting. They're sitting in their thrones or whatever, and they're rotting. And he pushes them out of the way, and then boom, there's a transportation mirror. And nobody, they didn't really give a backstory on how it got there, but I guess that's what some of the, especially Zamfir, were trying to hide. And he finds a transportation mirror. The transportation mirror directly goes to where Saint Germain is starting this kind of ritual to bring back Dracula from hell, to open up the infinite corridor. And he also had talked to Alucard and Greta, because Alucard and Greta are wondering where this crazy power is coming from. And Alucard says that to Greta that this is death magic. Saint Germain is using death magic. And I thought Saint Germain was pretty much, I thought he was a level-headed person, but he's actually being manipulated. And I'll say, when and who, by who. I'll say how he's being manipulated and by who. And Alucard is like, why the fuck are you trying to bring back my mother and my father? Because Saint Germain wants to bring back Lisa Tepesh and Dracula so he can construct a rebis, which is a hermaphrodite, the divine hermaphrodite, which is a being of both man and woman male and female put together, and it's supposed to be some kind of gruesome apocalyptic being that can really pretty much destroy the world. And while this is happening, Saint Germain is not all clear. He's, he just wants to do this because Saint Germain wants to find and bring back the woman that he loves from the Infinite Corridor. And if people were paying attention to season 3, and he wants to bring her back, and he's being manipulated, and too much is going on in the castle. So Greta and Alucard gotta go back and start battling the night creatures, and Dragon's platoon of night creatures and demons and everything, and they go back to do the fighting. And then once Trevor and Sypha finish off all of the other night creatures there, save what's left of the refugees in the underground court, they follow Varney. Varney actually sees the transportation mirror, sees Saint Germain, passes right through it because he sees Trevor and Sypha coming, passes right through it, and he starts just monologuing to Saint Germain, saying that, yeah, well, you know what, I'm this and that, whatever bullshit. And it's funny how all of the other, I guess, leaders and the people that were conspiring to bring back Dracula had already stitched up and put together this rebus and take it to where Saint Germain is doing the ritual, which is inside of Alucard's childhood room. And the ring is still there. Dracula's wedding ring to Lisa is still there, where they had killed, where Sypha, Alucard, and Trevor had killed Dracula in season 2. And they bring the rebus there. Varney finally makes his true presence known and starts telling Saint Germain that, Saint Germain, you're doing everything that I told you to do. You're easy to manipulate. Humans are so easy to manipulate. And out of all this time, Varney was Death, the fucking Grim Reaper. He was the eater of souls, the Grim Reaper, who also in the video games is always the right hand man to Dracula. And he starts saying that, you know what, when you humans killed Dracula, I was expecting Dracula to just, once he was going to annihilate the human race, not just Wallachia, he wanted to go bigger and be more ambitious, and just he wanted to kill all humans. And that's what the Grim Reaper, Death, was waiting for, because he feeds off souls. And the Grim Reaper even kind of put it that he can become even stronger than Dracula by absorbing and consuming all of these souls. And the way they made Death look, the Grim Reaper, was fucking phenomenal, man. Kind of reminiscent of the later games like Curse of Darkness, Laments of Innocence. I don't think with the reboot with Lords of Shadow, but Death looked fucking phenomenal, man. And I had a feeling it was Death. I had a feeling, because he's always been Dracula's right hand man in the video game. So getting back to it, Death is the one that manipulated Saint Germain and all of these other people to bring back Dracula for his own gain, for Death to finally take power over Dracula and use Dracula as his pawn and just kill everyone, so the Grim Reaper, Death, can just become the most powerful being, because he's a spirit. So he's like an elemental spirit, like a vampire, but he just feeds off souls and feeds off what the earth provides. So yeah, that was great. And then it's crazy how Sypha and Trevor go through the transportation mirror, meet up with Alucard. They start fucking shit up, tearing it up like they did in season 2. They start wrecking everything, saving the villagers, and they fight Dragon and they take him out. He's just pretty much a buffed up armored vampire, and they take him out. They take out the necromancers, they take out the other spirits that were there, and they finally get to where Death and Jermaine are at, and wow, it's crazy. Saint Germain finally has a change of heart, and he moves the entrance to the Infinite Corridor, and once Trevor breaks through the barrier with the Morning Star Whip, Saint Germain says to Trevor, make yourself useful. So Trevor grabs the iconic bladed crucifix boomerang, opens up some holy water, throws the boomerang at the holy water. The holy water just drips and just connects and gets onto the bladed boomerang and cuts right in between the rebus that's holding Dracula and Lisa Tepesh's spirits, and it explodes. Death is like, no, and Saint Germain, by all of this destroys the bladed crucifix boomerang, and the whole part of Alucard's childhood quarters explodes. Death is pissed off. Saint Germain has one half of the boomerang in his chest, and it looks like he's dying, and the key that was opening up the Infinite Corridor, which is full of souls, Death grabs it, consumes all of those souls and whatever was left in that key, and he just powers up to, like, he looks like a freaking giant. And when all this is going down, Sypha and Alucard are on the lower part of where the quarters were at, and Trevor is on the top where Death is, and he walks up. He's glad that Sypha and Alucard are fine, and then he goes there and he yells to Sypha, I love you. And I knew he was going to say it at one point in the series. I knew he was going to say it. And then she says, I know. And then this is where the climactic battle between the last surviving member of the Belmont clan battles Death with the Morning Star. And I should have said it earlier, but the fight's going on. Death is like wiping the floor with Trevor, and Trevor's trying his best. He's trying his best. He's a human being, you know. Death is Death. He's the fucking Death God. He is the grim fucking Reaper. So, I mean, the visuals look great. I mean, for the anime, for the animated series, it looked really good. I mean, it looks really, really good. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that kind of battle. And Trevor's doing his best. His arm gets broken. Death is like, you know, just telling him shit, you know, I was born into this world to feed off of you fuckers. That was funny, man. That was fucking funny. Death has a fucking loud ass potty mouth. I'll just say it like that, and puts me to shame when it comes to freaking throwing F-bombs. But yeah, it was funny. And then during all this time, during the beginning of season 4, Trevor had found this magical knife, and he was finding pieces of the knife as the series progressed. And this knife, I forgot what it was about, but it's a very like crazy magical knife. And the battle's going on. Death had broken, I think it was Trevor's left arm, and right after that, it was, you know, Trevor's just like hopping on flying debris like he would in the game, if people recognize, you know, remember the game. And he finally goes around Death after he had used the Morning Star to distract the Grim Reaper, turns around, puts this magical blade together, stabs Death right in the head, makes him explode. And it looks like, I really thought that Trevor was gonna die. I really thought he was gonna fucking die. And that's what I thought. Once Death had obliterated and exploded, Trevor's armor had exploded. So I was like, yeah, I thought it was dead. And then now, to make it a little bit shorter, because I'm already going on 30 minutes. So yeah, now it's the last final episode. Hector, it starts with Hector and Lenore, and Lenore is just distraught because Carmilla's gone, She's drinking nothing but wine. Her and Hector are getting drunk, and she tells Hector that I can't live like this. I can't be like in a cage, because as far as vampires go, now that Isaac's gonna become king, he's just gonna keep her in a cage, and she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to live a life like that. So Hector's trying to talk her out of it, but she wants to finally see, in 200 years, she wants to see what dawn is like, what the sunrise is like, and it's pretty sad. I mean, not that sad, but I mean, like, she was, she was pretty fucked up to Hector too, but she actually apologizes to Hector about what she did, and she walks out, the sun's rising, Hector tries to talk her out of it, but no, and then he just accepts it, and Hector's right there, they're outside on the balcony, and he's looking, and she's like, so that's all it is? And yeah, the sun comes up, Hector looks, and yeah, she disintegrates into nothing but dust. And it was a little bit, not for me, I mean, it wasn't that sad, but it was memorable. And now we get to what happened with everybody thinking Trevor had passed away. They put a headstone of Trevor and his family crest right next to the tree where he used to play at when he was a kid, and the settlement's getting bigger, especially with the villagers from Denesti, and Alucard and Greta are just bickering back and forth, saying who came up with the plan, who's better plan this, better plan that. And then Greta sees that Sypha is up after like almost a week or 2 weeks, and she hadn't talked to anybody, thinking that Trevor's dead. And Alucard goes up to Sypha and tells her she's okay and everything like that, trying to console her, trying to comfort her, and he really truly cares for Sypha. Like, Alucard really does care for Sypha, and Sypha wants to leave, go back to meet up with her caravan with the other speakers, and Alucard is really trying to convince her to stay. And Alucard says, your place is with us, like, we need you here. And just in my opinion. And Greta goes up and also talks to Sypha, saying we can make this a community, we can make this settlement and village, we can make it something, we can make it bigger than just a regular village. It could be a community, children, schools, learning, possible future vampire hunters or night creature hunters. And yeah, and then all of a sudden, the same horse that came out in the beginning of season 4 is coming towards the settlement, and Alucard's like, I know that horse. And lo and behold, it's Trevor. And Trevor survived, and I was like, wow, I really didn't think he was. And then Trevor survived, and he talks to Sypha, they banter with each other, especially Alucard and everything. Even Alucard's surprised. Alucard's like, I'll be damned. And the way he survived was that Saint Germain, with whatever life he had left, had reopened the corridor, and I guess he sucked Trevor into the corridor and then released him. And they didn't say, before he died. Yeah, he did die. Saint Germain did die, but he saved Trevor. And yeah, it was crazy, man. They start talking. Alucard and Trevor have an even closer bond and even a higher respect for each other, mutual respect. And Alucard just telling him, yeah, man, you know what? This is, for the first time, I don't know what to do in my life. And now they're back together. Sypha, Trevor, Alucard, and now Greta is going to be a part of it. And it was great, man. It was a great ending. And I wish it didn't end, but I mean, 4 seasons for the first adaptation of Castlevania. I enjoyed it. It did have its flaws, but I really enjoyed it, loved it. And the crazy thing was, when Trevor, just to finish it off, when Trevor split the Rebis, which was holding the spirits of Vlad, Dracula Tepesh, and Lisa Tepesh, they came back to the world. They were brought back. They were resurrected, and this is very towards the end. And they go to this hotel, and they're alive, but they don't want to make their presence known yet to Alucard. They want to take time with it, and because Alucard still thinks they're dead. And yeah, Dracula is Lisa is Dracula's balance. So he seems more calm now. He listens to her, and that's how it ends. And it was a pretty fitting end. I mean, it was an unexpected end. I expected what happened, the ending with Alucard, Trevor, and Sypha, but I didn't expect Lisa Tepesh and Dracula to survive. And yeah, I mean, if they want to go off and do spin-offs off of this Castlevania, then I think they should. But I mean, hopefully the newest interpretations of Castlevania will be as good as this one, but I doubt it. This is going to me going to be the best one. It's going to be the one and only best animated series based on a video game, Castlevania, that there ever will be. I mean, just in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I'm already going at 35 minutes. G Freaks and Sci-Fi Fanatics. So there's my opinion and discussion video. My opinion and kind of my review on season 4, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I really don't do videos this long unless I'm doing podcasts with my homies, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this series. It's the best animated series in my opinion as far as based on a video game, and I don't want to go any longer, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed doing this. It's gonna be a lot of work, but I really enjoyed doing this video. So I hope you guys have a good day. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you guys thought about season 4, the final season for Castlevania from Netflix. And that's all I got for you guys. So this is Daniel, the Sci-Fi Sentry, always keeping it raw and real. So I'm out.